Hey math kids, today we're going to talk about finding angles using the unit circle still. Okay, so we want to find an angle, and this time the angle is defined in degrees. So the way they tell us that is they show us that our angle is in between 0 degrees and 360 degrees. And so we know we want to be thinking in that mindset. And so if we find cosine theta, and that's equal to 1/3, they just want us to use technology on this one. So we're going to say sine theta is equal to 3/4, and then tangent theta is equal to 2. Okay, so we're going to open up our calculator. And we're just going to, so first off we want to double check. We go to mode. We're in radians right now. So we want to go to degrees. Once again, because our angle was defined in degrees. Now, I guess before the calculator, we need to do the inverse trig function to get theta by itself. And so I'm just going to do an inverse cosine on both sides. And so we get theta, because these cancel, is equal to the inverse cosine of 1/3. Okay, same thing's going to work right here, but it's going to be an inverse sine. Cancel, we get theta is equal to the inverse sine of 3/4. Same thing with tangent, but it's going to be inverse tangent. So these cancel, and then theta is equal to the inverse tangent of 2. Okay, once we have all that set up, we can just use calculator. And so to get to the inverse, you go second, hit cosine. Notice that there's a little -1, and then we say 1 divided by 3. Okay, and we get 70.5 if we round that to 2 significant figures. Now, the issue is our calculator only gives us part of the story. So if we look at this, and we're going 1 full rotation, because that's what this tells us. If we look at cosine of 1/3, remember cosine is an x value. So if we have an x value of 1/3, in 1 rotation, we actually have 2 places where that's true. And so this is the one that we're given. Like the rotation, like if we drew this, rotated like this, that would be 70.5 degrees. Now, if we go to this one, the rotation from here to here would be 70.5. But remember, the way we measure it is actually from here to here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take 360, we're going to subtract 70.5, and that's going to tell us this point. So if we just say 360 minus our previous answer, we get 289, and that's 3 significant figures, so we'll leave it there. 289 degrees. Okay, so the 2 answers to make this true, and you can test this in a calculator, you can check your answer. If you do cosine of this or cosine of this, you'll get 1/3 or 0.33333 for both of those answers. Okay, we're going to do a similar thing with the sine. So we're going to do the inverse sine of 3/4. And we get 48.6. degrees. Once again, that probably only tells us part of the story. Okay, this time we're doing sine, so we're dealing with y. And so if we have a sine value of 3/4, it's going to be something like this. And so in one rotation, we cross two places that have that. So the first rotation is what we got. This is our 48.6 degrees. And then the amount from here to here is also 48.6. And so what we want to do is we want to take our whoops, not pi. We want 180 minus 48.6. And so we go to our calculator. 180 minus our previous answer, and that gave us 131. Okay, so once again we get two answers. Tangent, it's going to be similar thinking. We plug it into a calculator. Inverse tangent of, what was it, 2? $63.4. Okay, now this one's a little bit different the way you think about it, but we draw our unit circle. Now, because our tangent is positive 2, we need our signs to be the same. So both positive in this quadrant, both negative, because if we do sine divided by cosine, the negatives either cancel or we didn't have negatives to begin with. So our tangent looks more like this, and so we're going to cross it twice. Once again, the 63.4 is this, and let's see, it's going to be this one as well. So we're actually going to do 180 plus 63.4, because 180 is right here. And then we need to add this little piece right here. So we're just going to add that to the previous answer. So we'll just say plus 180, and we get 243. Okay, hopefully that made sense. We're going to move on to another example. And it says find two angles theta on the unit circle that are in between 0 and 2 pi. So that means we're going to switch to radians when we're finding it this time. So I'm going to write it, I'm going to write them all out like I did last time. And we get cosine as well. And we have a tangent as well. Alright, so the steps for this are going to be pretty much the same, except for we want to make sure that our calculator is in radians. That's really it. So we're going to do an inverse sine. And so those cancel. Theta is equal to inverse sine inverse cosine, inverse tangent. Alright, cross that out. Inverse cosine of negative 2/3. And then this theta is equal to inverse tangent of negative 1/3. Cool. Alright, go to our calculator. First thing, check the mode. It's not in radians, so we want to change it. Once again, we can tell it's radians because of this, how that's defined. Okay, so now we're going to go second sine. Make sure you have your little negative 1, then negative 0.4. Should have closed off my parentheses, but I'm pretty sure that's the same, but hold on. So we got negative 0.412. Okay, so what does that mean? That's an angle measurement. And so what it's actually going to give us, so we had a sine value that was down here somewhere, and we have one rotation, 0 to 2 pi, so we should get two answers out of it. Now what it's telling us is the rotation from here to here. And so what we really want to do is we want to think of it as the rotation from here to here, and then backtrack to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 pi minus 0.412. Okay? So that's actually how we get our first answer. So I guess it's a little more complicated, right? So we're going to say 2 times pi. I'm going to say plus my previous answer because it's negative. And that's going to give me 5.87. Okay, so first answer, 5.87. Okay, now if we look at this diagram, the distance from here to here, or the angle from here to here is the same as the angle from here to here, which is this thing. So if we just take pi and we add 0.412, we'll get the angle for that one. So we're going to go back, we're going to say pi plus 0.412, that's going to give us 3.56. Maybe. Okay, and those are the two radian measures of those angles. Okay, let's try this again with cosine. So we say inverse cosine of negative 2/3. And we get 2.3. So that one was nicer to us. It actually just gave us one of our answers. We didn't have to work so hard for it. And maybe put a 0 on there for the significant figures. So 2.30. Now, we need to find our other answer though. So we look at this. The original was a cosine and it was negative 2/3. And so that's an x value. And it gave us the first one. And so if we have that, the rotation from here to here would be the same as the rotation from here to here. And so we could say, we could think of it like you rotate all the way around and then back. So we could say 2 pi minus 2.30. And so let's try that. So we'll say second, or not second, so just 2 pi minus the previous answer. We get 3.98, and that's our other answer. So we get 2.30 and 3.98. All right, last one. So we're going to go second tangent of negative 1/3. We get negative 0.322. Okay, that's not one of our answers because it's negative. So we have to look at the situation that we have. And so we have tangent. This time tangent's negative, so we think of it as a diagonal this way because the signs have to be opposite. Over here, the y's are positive but the x's are negative. Down here the y's are negative and the x's are positive, so that's going to create a negative tangent situation. And what our calculator gave us is the distance from here to here. So to find the actual angle measurement, we're going to do 2 pi minus this number. Okay, so I'm just going to put a 2 pi out in front of this, and we'll just say 2 pi, and since my previous answer is negative, I'll actually say plus. Previous answer, so that's 5.96. Okay, 5.96. Okay. Now, this angle is the same as this angle, so we could also do pi minus this to get our other piece. So I'm going to do that now. So we get second pi minus 0.322, and we get 2.82. Okay, if you need additional help, come to MathLab. Until then, calculator.